Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Friday morning to you all. Hope you guys are doing awesome out there this morning and having a wonderful start to your day. And I hope everyone's had a great week out there as we're about to head off into our weekend. I know I, for one, am very happy about that. I'm sure a lot of other people are too. But we do have a lot to discuss. Waking up to a bit of a surprise. We have a large enhanced risk. I'll be honest, I wasn't expecting to wake up to this, but here we are, large enhanced risk in the yards, level 3 out of 5. So we got a lot to speak on, and we're going to get very detailed like we always do. So the first thing we'll go over is that outlook from the Storm Prediction Center. Then we'll sweep through all the states that run the risk of severe weather. And we'll get very detailed as far as the timing, structure, risk of these storms for today into tonight. So if you just want to hear about a certain state, chances are there'll be a timestamp up for that. I don't expect anyone to watch a 35 to 40 minute video. If you do, I appreciate the heck out of you. You guys know that. But I know time is valuable, but this is certainly the only way I know how to do it on my channel. I can't just sweep through this information in 5 to 10 minutes, but props to people that can. But we'll do that. And then we'll speak on parameters, how much rainfall could happen over the next 48 hours. And then we'll speak on the pattern in general coming up after today through the weekend into next week. Complex pattern. So I'll speak on what I mean by complex as we get to that portion of the video and do my best to explain this information in a way where you guys as the audience can understand. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. I don't harp on this much, but those likes go a long way with getting these videos out there in the algorithm. I don't pretend to know how the algorithm works on YouTube. And every time I think I figure it out, it proves to me that I don't know anything about it. But it's obvious the videos have not done too well over the last 5 to 6 weeks. And I've talked about that a little bit, and I'm not complaining, but it's not just me. It's a lot of people and a lot of channels that are kind of on the low to mid-grade channels out there. And, it just is what it is. But I really think liking the videos, get out there. Now, if you don't like it, totally get it. Don't like the video if you don't like it. But I do think it goes a long way, and I certainly appreciate the people who take the time to do that. But more importantly, if you guys got anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below so I can pray over it, and so others have an opportunity to see your prayer request too, and we'll pray over it. So let's get rocking and rolling. So latest from the Storm Prediction Center, enhanced risk level 3 out of 5 in the orange area. This extends from Texas all the way up to Kentucky and everybody in between in the orange region. Areas of Alabama, Mississippi, even northwest Georgia through middle Tennessee, northern Louisiana, southern areas of Arkansas, and right through that area of Texas. The guy hit pretty hard yesterday. We had a tornado yesterday in Texas that I think there was a 0% chance at the beginning of the outlook yesterday, and then they put a little 2% risk. And my buddy Bryce and his girlfriend Paige were on that storm. Did really well with their stream, being in the right place and documenting what happened. Of course, there was other chasers too that saw it, but definitely an eventful evening yesterday in areas of Central Texas. But what's driving this? And of course, you do have the slight risk around it. Level 2 out of 5 in the dark green is a marginal risk, level 1 out of 5. But what's driving this risk? Tornado threat. And just remember, these outlooks could tweak. They could change a little bit. We could get a bump up to a 5% risk. I could certainly see that. But right now, just a pretty large 2% risk of a tornado. It basically goes all the way up to Cincinnati, Louisville, all the way through the rest of Kentucky. Not the far western areas of the state, eastern areas of the state do not have a 2%. But covers a good chunk of Kentucky, Tennessee, northern Alabama, the northern half of Mississippi, northwestern Georgia, southern areas of Arkansas, northern areas, northern half of Louisiana, right through southeast, eastern, and then central and south central areas of Texas. The damaging wind threat, this is one of the things driving the enhanced risk today. So I know a lot of people see the enhanced risk and they probably immediately think, oh man, big tornado day. It's not the case. Now we're probably going to get some tornadoes, but that's not what's really driving the higher end risk of severe weather. It's really winds and hail. But wind threats, if you live in that red area, that is a 30% risk. Pretty large area in the red. That has a 30% chance of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour within 25 miles in a given location. The yellow area is a 15% risk. So pretty large area. Hail threat, up here in the enhanced risk area, hail's not really driving the enhanced risk. It is down here along with winds. But the yellow is a 15% risk of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger. But let's zoom into this down here. And the red, which includes, San Antonio, Austin, Waco, College Station, etc. You guys have a 30% risk of hail exceeding 1 inch or larger, but you also have that black outline region. So you see how the black outlines highlighting the corridor of the red area, and it gets a little bit into the yellow area, down here. That's a 10% risk of significant hail, which is considered 2 inch in diameter or larger. So once again, the atmosphere will be loaded ingredient-wise and will be capable of producing all hazards, but especially very large hail. So you got to be aware of that. So let's go on and look at the excessive rainfall outlook very quickly. The yellow area is a 15% risk of flash flooding occurring within 25 miles in a given location. And then that green area is a 5%. So, there is going to be a risk of flash flooding, a lot of heavy rain. Rain could happen and fall very quickly here. We had some very slow moving storms down here yesterday that produced, I think it's pronounced Keeling. Please, I know someone's going to correct me in Texas, but I'm always hesitant to try to say that the town. I should know that, but I don't. There's a lot of town names I always struggle with, but I think it's Keeling. That was the area where we had the tornado close by yesterday, but flash flooding threat in these areas, and the severe weather threat. So let's go on and break down Texas first. Let's speak on northern Texas, northeast areas of the state first. So time frame is up here. It's around 10 a.m. You take it to about lunchtime, could have some scattered activity near Wichita Falls. And then, literally after lunchtime, storms could begin to fire as the atmosphere is already just very unstable. A lot of Cape building storm energy. So, we take it to about 3 p.m. We're already getting just these scattered strong to severe storms. I mean, they could be anywhere, guys. Anywhere. And I'm just showing you model guidance, but that's all it is guidance. But, you see all these pop-up areas of, in the red, the purple. These could be strong to severe storms. And there's a lot popping up down here at College Station, Austin, but there's some popping up right here in the Dallas-Fort Worth, Weatherford area also. Now, some of these storms could cluster up maybe into an MCS, mesoscale convective system, and really become a powerhouse wind threat. But just seeing clusters of storms sort of dancing around, not a ton of flow in the atmosphere, but there's definitely enough. But, you're seeing a lot of storm activity down here, kind of the same area that saw it yesterday. And we continue to get to 7 p.m., 8 p.m., and this is when a flooding threat could really materialize. Look at all these storms from Keeling, Waco, Lufkin, all the way to Shreveport, which we'll talk about Louisiana here in a second. A lot of storm activity near Austin. And it looks like, Dallas-Fort Worth, most of the activity stays south. Could get some storms earlier in the afternoon, and then a lot of the activity is south of you guys. But this is 11 p.m. This is midnight tonight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m. Things begin to calm down. But it's literally, you see all the activity kind of explodes after lunchtime because of the daytime heating. And we could just have scattered to strong storms everywhere. There's really everywhere in your map. It's going to be hard for anybody to tell you exactly when you're going to get hit by a storm. It's kind of a mixture between a summer type pattern and still a spring type pattern. But the southern half of Texas, here we go. We're getting into 2 p.m. This is around 2 p.m. Look at the storms near San Antonio. These could produce large hail, and then these start to get stronger, cluster up more. This is 4 p.m. So storms from San Antonio over to just north of Houston. And we keep these going here. Could get some very strong storms a little bit further west up here too. But shows San Antonio getting hit by multiple storms this afternoon to this evening. Then you get into 8 p.m., 9 p.m. These storms could be tapping into a pretty unstable environment to the south. So not a whole lot going on through here in the afternoon. So the southern edge of these storms, southern flank, a lot of energy, storm energy, will be fueling these storms. So very large hail threat if you live in this area. San Antonio maybe points west to the late evening hours. Definitely a lightning show. And then these storms will cruise down deep into Texas late tonight into after midnight. And then I do think they'll make it all the way to the Texas coastline before they begin to lose some steam later on early tomorrow morning. So we continue to move forward here. If we speak on Arkansas, we're going to have an area of storms that's going to continue to move in this morning. If it hasn't already by the time you're watching this video, these storms could produce strong to severe storms all the way. These storms could produce, say this right, these storms could hit severe limits throughout the morning hours to the northern counties of Arkansas. And then by the time you get in the late morning, you could get these storms to really mature and get stronger to severe as they start to move into an atmosphere that's becoming more unstable. So at this point, these storms look to be packing one heck of a punch by about midday today. So this is around lunchtime. Jonesboro, eastern areas of Arkansas, this specifically likes northeastern Arkansas, could have a nasty line of storms moving through. And then this moves out and it moves more so into Tennessee. We get into the mid-afternoon hours, late afternoon hours, and then more storms will bubble up, especially for the southern half of Arkansas. And could hit anybody. Pine Bluff, Little Rock, Hot Springs, Texarkana, El Dorado. Anybody down here could get hit by a strong to severe storm this afternoon. 6 p.m., they get more widespread in nature. I mean, look at all these storms down here. There is a 2% risk of a tornado. 7 p.m., 8 p.m., and 9 p.m., storms could begin to lose some steam, but could have additional storm activity to get going. And so to me, in general, it looks like morning to about midday, northern Arkansas will be the hot spot. You get into the afternoon hours, the southern half of Arkansas begins to get hit. So that looks like the general look today across the state, into tonight across the state of Arkansas. Louisiana, we'll start it off at 10 a.m. right up here. We get into about midday. Could have some storms firing up between Monroe, Shreveport, or right on top of them. And then it's pretty much game on. We get later in the afternoon, 2, 3 o'clock. We got scattered strong to severe storms popping up. And then it becomes widespread. So, some areas will get it. Some areas will get a drop of rain. It could be one of those days where it's raining at your neighbor's house on down the road, but it's not raining at your house. It's just kind of, like I said, a mixture between a summer and a spring type pattern, in my opinion. We get to 6, 7 p.m., just scattered storm activity dancing around across central to northern Louisiana. And then we start to get to 8 p.m., 9 p.m., 10 p.m., and it's just a lot of storm activity. But as you can tell, a lot of it is for the northern half of Louisiana. I would say somewhere between like this area, points north, sees the most storm activity. But I mean, it's round after round. And finally, you get to like the wee hours of the morning tonight. It will into tomorrow morning. And the storms begin to fire down here in southeast Louisiana. Baton Rouge, Lafayette, New Orleans, Thibodaux, Houma, and all these areas begin to get hit by a lot of storm activity well after midnight tonight. So that's the general look. And then we look at Alabama, Mississippi. Start off at 8 a.m., nothing going on. Take it to about midday. Maybe a little bit of storm activity in the far northwestern corner of Mississippi. We take it into about 2 p.m., strong to severe storms going through the northern counties of Mississippi, Tupelo points north up here near Memphis. And then we start to get to 4 p.m. We start to get isolated to scattered, strong to severe storms popping up really anywhere in Mississippi. Not super widespread, but I want to watch this complex of storms going through the far northern areas of Mississippi and Alabama, working west to east through the afternoon hours. Florence, Huntsville, but begin to get hit by some nasty storms later this afternoon into this evening potentially. And then as we start to get to about 6 p.m., here it is, storms down near Meridian up to Tuscaloosa. And then 8 p.m., begin to get a light show from Meridian up to Birmingham. Rise of the sun's beginning to set. A lot of storm activity in central Alabama into areas of Mississippi. But guys, this could be anywhere. It's going to be hard to pinpoint exactly where this happens. We get into 9 p.m., 10 p.m., a lot of storm activity across really anywhere in Alabama and Mississippi, but I would favor anywhere in Mississippi and anywhere in Alabama, except maybe the extreme southern areas. Might not be as stormy this afternoon into tonight. That could change as you get into after midnight tonight. So now around 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, tomorrow morning, we start to get some storms all the way down here near Mobile. Monroeville could get some storms. Speaking of Monroeville, I saw a crazy video of a big-time hailstorm down here. And speaking of my pawpaw, I mentioned lives here in southwest Alabama. His surgery did go well, if you remember, in this section of the video yesterday, because we were breaking down this area also then. I told you if you guys could pray for him and the surgery he was having, it was successful. He's doing good. I just asked that, you guys pray for healing for him and a quick recovery. But we get into 4 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 a.m., and some storms could begin to drape all the way down into the Gulf coastline. So it's getting into tomorrow morning. I do want to show some love to Georgia and South Carolina. And for my folks that are local, like in the Carolinas and Georgia, that's probably where I have some of the most viewers. I'm sorry I haven't talked about, us as much. I can say us, but man, there's just been nothing going on. I mean, nothing. And I think that's probably a big reason why my views are down. Just I know a lot of my viewers are from the Southeast, but man, there's just been nothing going on. I do think it'll be somewhat more of an active weekend though. But we get to 4 p.m., 5 p.m., 6 p.m., 7 p.m. Could have some pop-up activity. I mean, anywhere from Georgia to South Carolina. 8 p.m., 9 p.m., you got some isolated activity in South Carolina. But I do think once you get into the northwestern corner of Georgia, definitely some storms later this afternoon into this evening. And eventually, as we get into the overnight hours, some rain could begin to make it into Atlanta, to the Greenville-Spartanburg area. This is 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m. And then as we're getting into tomorrow, I do think tomorrow will be more of an active day. I also think that the rain that we will get for tomorrow will be very beneficial. Very beneficial. So, continuing to move forward here, Kentucky, Tennessee, quiet through 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 11 a.m., lunchtime, and then you see the storms coming up on that side of your screen over there. This is 1 p.m. Line of storms, and I haven't shown much love to Missouri. Missouri don't have, technically per the Storm Prediction Center, a very high severe weather threat today. I do feel like it should be a little bit higher, but I mean, they only give you guys a marginal risk. I think this area right in here will get this marginal risk, maybe slight risk, extend a little bit further to the northwest. So as we're talking about Kentucky and Tennessee here, I do want to mention the boot of Missouri about midday today could get a nasty line of storms. But as this starts to get into Kentucky and Tennessee, the western portions of the state, we could have a line of storms that moves in. I mean, I'll try to do the timing here. This is 1 p.m., 2 p.m., 3 p.m., 4 p.m., 4 p.m., thank you. And just has a line of storms. It could produce tornadoes. It's a lower risk, but it's there. Damaging winds for sure, and hail. Now, we do have some storms popping up ahead of this line. We got to watch out for these. But the main show looks to just be a sweeping line of storms. This is 5 p.m. This is 6 p.m. This is 7 p.m. This is 8 p.m. This is 9 p.m. This is 10 p.m. This is 10 p.m. Thank you. So it looks like the storms will enter western Kentucky, western Tennessee by about lunchtime, maybe an hour before, hour and after, and just sweep throughout the entire afternoon and evening. And these storms will be capable of producing strong wind gusts, literally a line of storms. You'll see this coming. So definitely a more elevated wind threat, I think, in this area today. So be aware of that. And, just to show like Indiana, Illinois some love too, the extreme southern areas of Illinois, early afternoon, southern areas of Indiana, more so mid to late afternoon. And then the storms do try to make it up to Ohio, which I'll break down here in a second. But I do want to show some love to Virginia, North Carolina. We start to get into about this afternoon. We are likely going to get some storms that will pop up in western North Carolina, western Virginia. I think these could be strong, maybe hit severe limits. But there won't be a lot of ingredients in the atmosphere to create widespread opportunity for storms. But we're probably going to get some storms firing up anywhere in Georgia and North Carolina. They're just not going to be widespread at all. Like not at all, in my opinion. Now, as all the energy begins to push from west to east, we're probably going to get a line of storms that'll get into far southwestern North Carolina later tonight. So if you live in this area, don't be surprised if later this evening, if you stay up late, not like me, I'm asleep by 11 p.m., even on a Friday night. But don't be surprised you get some lightning and thunder tonight in southwest North Carolina, and a line of storms will try to make its way through, but it looks to weaken. So we'll see what happens with that. And then Ohio, quiet through late morning, through early afternoon, maybe some storms in far northern Ohio. And then 5 p.m., some storms start to bubble up. There they are between Columbus and Cleveland. And then we get into 8 p.m. We got just an area of storms that really likes the idea of being around Cincinnati to Columbus, up to Akron to Youngstown, south of Cleveland, and this area. Okay, this is kind of the first little bunch of storms that fires. This is 9 p.m. And then we're going to have kind of what's left over of the line of storms. It's going to be in Kentucky and Tennessee and surrounding states in the afternoon and evening. This will try to hit Cincinnati around 8, 9, 10 p.m. And then this will sweep through the southern half of Ohio and eventually get into the rest of Ohio throughout the late night hours into after midnight. But it does look like it loses some steam. So it looks like these storms will be the most intense in the southwestern areas of the state. Like this is 9 p.m. You see you got this line of storms moving in. So just be aware of that. And then you look at West Virginia. Kind of the same thing. We got to watch the storms that come out of Kentucky later on tonight. We get into 7 p.m., we get into 8 p.m., we get into 9 p.m., we get into 10 p.m., and not a whole lot going on between now and 10 p.m. tonight. But then we finally get into midnight and some storms, heavy rain, shower activity will move through the state, but it doesn't look all that bad in West Virginia. PA, started around lunchtime. We get to 3 p.m., 4 p.m., 5 p.m. We got that maybe strong to severe cluster of storms that fires around Erie, sneaks into New York, which we'll talk about here in a second. So I do think the most storm activity could be in northwestern areas of PA through the afternoon and evening hours. And then we start to get to 9 p.m., 10 p.m. Storms will be moving across western PA. And not a whole lot for central to eastern PA, at least off this run. But very well could get some storms. And then 2 a.m., 3 a.m., some storms continue in the western sections of the state. But, wake up tomorrow morning to probably an area of heavy rain and storms for areas of Pennsylvania. And then New York will round it off, and we will show some love to Vermont and Western Mass too. But, we start to get to about 2 p.m., 3 p.m., some scattered activity. I really would say isolated. Some downpours are possible in these areas, kind of a corridor right through here. I don't know if these will be strong to severe initially, but as we get into 5 p.m., 6 p.m., we just have to watch. It's just steady little corridor of little storms. And these could, produce some hail, some gusty winds. There's a marginal risk that does extend all the way up into this area. Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse, down to Binghamton, Jamestown, all the way to Albany, into areas of Vermont, Western Mass. Could just get some storms. It's on and off storms from midday through about late evening. And then we wake up tomorrow morning and could have some heavier rain moving into southwestern, western areas of New York. So looking at the updraft felicity swath today, it pinpoints these stronger updrafts through Texas. This is really what's going on right now in Oklahoma. But it does, pick up on additional storms forming down here. And then we do look at the wind gust swath. Just love how it jumps to 06Z or 07Z. And just picks up on areas of winds that could produce 50, 60 miles per hour. Really, all I'm seeing is 40, 50, but there's just clusters of storms everywhere now. We do jump up here and say, let's look back at this, and let's go to areas of the deep south, which does include Arkansas and Tennessee. It really likes the idea of that nasty line of storms being up here in northeast Arkansas and southeast Missouri, the Buda, Missouri, later on today, like midday through early afternoon. It's really picking up on some stronger and more intense updrafts, which tells us, hey, when you see this a lot, initially I used to say, hey, this is where our best chance of tornadoes is, and it is, but this could be rotating updrafts, but this is where we just have stronger storms. I would really consider it being that. But updrafts, you can see these slashes of color going through Tennessee, indicate stronger storms. And we're going to have some damaging wind gusts through here too. If we look at the wind gust swath, man, it really picks up on this some clusters of storms through Tennessee especially. But you see how it you got this one slash here, one slash here, one slash here. That's in 1 hour by hour increments. That's why it kind of jumps certain areas. But it does show a line of storms, even for areas of northern Mississippi and Alabama and even Georgia between now and Saturday morning. Shows a pretty intense line of storms through areas in the Mid-South, 50, 60 mile per hour wind gusts, which is why you got the damaging wind, the 30% risk of damaging winds in these areas. So, all right, let's jump up into. I do want to take a closer look at, say, Kentucky and Tennessee, and here it is. I mean, this is what I'm concerned about. I don't think we're going to get an upgrade to a moderate risk, but you can see it's a wild cutoff. It clearly shows a nasty line of storms making its way through Kentucky and Tennessee, and it just highlights those two specific states. And what you're looking at here is the predicted wind gust swath per the HRRR model, which can overdo things, but you see pockets of winds 50, 60, 65 miles per hour. You can look at the updraft velocity swath with this too, but it doesn't always tell the tale. But you can tell that these storms, I think for the western half of Kentucky and Tennessee, could have the best potential to produce a tornado. But man, I'm telling you, there's going to be a sweeping line of storms through Kentucky and Tennessee today that could pack one heck of a punch. So be aware of that. Not much to show past this, guys, but I will show you rainfall. Once again, this is between now and 7 p.m. Saturday. So clusters of rain will create an opportunity for 1 to 2 inches of rain across areas of southern Texas and eastern Texas. A lot of rain is possible. Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, clusters of a half an inch to maybe an inch and a half of rain. And then we take it and we look at right here in this region, which includes the Mid-South Ohio Valley. I mean, a lot of rain could fall between now and Saturday evening. 1, 2, 3 inches of rain. Once you get into this area right here of like red, I mean, that's getting into 2.5, 3 inches of rain. So an opportunity for a lot of rain in these areas. We really don't need it for a lot of these areas. We need it to get pushed to the southeast. But I will take a look at the northeast too in regards to this. Some rain could get into this area over an inch as possible in certain areas of PA. So moving forward here, let me look at timing, make sure we're okay. We are running low, but we'll be okay. There is a marginal risk of severe weather for tomorrow across areas of the eastern U.S. And, this in certain areas could get upgraded to a slight risk. I could see that happening, but level 1 out of 5 risk of severe weather from southern New England down to areas of the southeast, very small section of South Texas too. This is just driven off a potential for a little bit of hail and also for some damaging winds. No appreciable tornado threat in this region right now. And then this is day 3. This is Sunday. Could have some leftover energy that could produce some strong to severe thunderstorm activity in South Carolina, southeast North Carolina, and Virginia. But for the most part, it does not look like a big severe weather day. And then the pattern quite literally resets potentially. And we're back to Texas again. And this is for Monday. We already have a 15% risk of severe weather within 25 miles in a given location in western Texas and central Texas. So, and I really think as we get past day 4 and a Tuesday onward of next week, we're going to have severe weather days. Probably, if I had to bet, I would probably say they're going to be across these regions right into here. Maybe a little bit further south. And this could eventually extend to the Carolinas later next week. I don't think this is going to be... The severe weather chances next week I do not think are going to extend extremely far north. But explaining the pattern, this is the 500 millibar flow at about 18,000 feet up in the air. I'm going to start off Monday morning. What you got here is this bowling ball 500 millibar low right into here. So I'm going to draw on this. So here it is right here. Make sure we get the best looking colors. None of these colors are that great, to be honest with you. So we're just going to stick with yellow. So you see the wind barbs right here and right here. See how the flag portion of that is pointing this way. That means the flow is coming like that. So the flow around this in the mid-levels of the atmosphere is going just like that. Okay. At the same time, we got this upper low digging down into the southwest, and the flow around that's going just like that. So we kind of got competitive flows going on right here. This one's going down. This one's going up to the north, south to north. This one's going to the north to the south. So they're kind of working against each other when it comes to bringing up a very moist atmosphere for severe weather. So really, the flow around here that you're seeing, this is suppressing any kind of moist air from getting too far to the north. So it can't climb to the north. Now, the flow in the lower levels is helping to pull a little bit of moisture up into the southern plains. Okay, this is the flow kind of the more so upper levels. And the lower levels, your flow is moving different. It's actually moving in a different direction. We're not going to get too deep into that. But, I guess it's just a kind of a take my word for it kind of deal. But one interesting thing is even though this is suppressing a lot of moisture down, the flow coming off this upper low right here is trying to pull some of it up along with a little bit of flow in the lower levels going from, in general, south to north. So I'll get this back off your screen. Some more flow begins to enter this region right into here, which is why you have that 15% risk of severe weather, more so right into here. So kind of the beginning region of all this flow in the atmosphere begins to move into the southern high plains. So all of a sudden, I put my cursor over here in the purple area. That's 40, 50 knots of mid-level flow, mid-level jet riding over this area. Now, this feature right here is beginning to move to the east. So we start to get to Tuesday morning. Our upper low is beginning to trail on off very slowly. So we get into Tuesday. This is moving away. This is moving in. So I want you to watch this as far as dew points. So this is Monday. Shows you exactly what I was talking about. Our upper low is like spinning right through here. This is bringing a lot of dry, stable air. Okay, so the flow is actually suppressing all this deep moisture and keeping it into the Gulf of Mexico. Dew points in the 60s and 70s. Dew points in the 50s and 40s, like you see on your map, is not going to get the job done. But a little bit of that low-level flow is trying to get some of that moisture back into like Texas and areas like that. Okay, now I want you to watch. So this is for Tuesday afternoon, right? So we're still at Monday midday here. So I want you to watch as this upper low begins to move this way and replace, you get that upper trough moving into the western U.S. This is going to help to yank up more moisture in the atmosphere. So all of a sudden we're into Tuesday afternoon. The same panel as this, right? Flow around this is going just like that. Flow around this is going just like that. Okay, so now we're getting more of a dominant southerly flow. So what does that mean? That means we're starting to get more moisture up into this area because this canceling out flow, if you will, is starting to move this way. So we're starting to get into Wednesday now. Now that area of energy, let's look at this. Okay, this is getting into Wednesday. Okay, now this feature is fully moving away. And whatever happens with this upper trough, we're not quite sure. But in general, we have a steady now kind of westernly to southwesternly flow across this region. And this isn't going to yank up a lot of moisture because you're not getting a lot of it from just the south. So it switches to more of just a westernly, west-south westernly flow, if you will. But that there still will be just enough probably moisture hanging out down here with a lot of flow riding over it. And when I say flow, I'm talking about this purple area down here, which you don't need a lot of it when you have an unstable air mass. So this is Wednesday afternoon. Dew points in the 60s and 70s have now returned to sections of the deep south. Okay, you look at that. That's at the surface. Dew points in the pretty humid air. And then we got this flow overriding this region. So I really think we're going to have severe weather chances for the deep south, especially the western deep south. Moisture's on the return. And then we even get past this and we get into Thursday. And just enough flow continues over the areas of the deep south. Okay, you start to get into Thursday here. That's actually a good bit of moisture now surging all the way up into the mid-south. But, I mean, there is drier air up here. Dew points in the 50s, low 60s, deep into the 60s and 70s down in the deep south. And a little bit of flow riding over that region. So, I'm going to leave it at that. I could show you Cape too, but it's just a little bit too far out to really get that detail. But it's an interesting pattern. In the shorter term, competitive flows kind of shut off the moisture feeds to the north. And then as this kind of upper low feature begins to move off to the east, stops dominating the pattern, and then enough flow begins to override the returning moist flow out of the Gulf down here. So that's all I got. God bless all y'all. Have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you tomorrow morning. Stay safe out there. Nasty storms. God bless.